him! Tagged one!
So,
Cover me!
I'm actually interested to know, how old do you think this game is? 2 years, 3 years? Maybe you've never seen this game before, I'm not entirely sure. But how old do you think that this game is?
Tagged one!
Well,
Frag!
this game is a mod that came out 7 years ago, in 2012. It's called Casus Belli. This is a modification for the free game Crisis Wars that came out in 2012. It recreates Battlefield on a free engine. It is a free download. You can still host servers for it. And it even has a full SDK, which, you know, granted that Crisis SDK is a little bit of a pain in the ass, but at least it has one. Unlike the vast majority of games nowadays. And this is something that I wish people would talk about more. And I think that this is one of the most straightforward examples that I have to illustrate the wall that we have been hitting in the gaming community for years. And I know many of you have probably noticed that I've unlisted the previous video that I made talking about the gaming industry, the game development industry, and a lot of the same things that I'm talking about here. And I know a lot of you want to know the reason why, and I think the best way I can sum up is there's a lot of people who just don't want to talk about this. There's a lot of people who don't want to hear about this. There's a lot of people who don't want to confront this situation. Either because they don't care or because they are developers themselves and they're trying to ignore the reality of the situation. And it's gotten to the point where I don't really like confronting it publicly or telling people about this publicly anymore if they don't want to hear it, because it doesn't really matter if I say it or not. It's still going to happen, and it's still going to be the reality, whether or not I'm the one who's talking about it. And if there's a lot of people who are getting offended, if there's a lot of people who don't want to think about this and just kind of like march blindly into oblivion, I'm not really invested in stopping them. And before we continue, I want to say that I've spent a lot of time thinking about how I want to deal with talking about these kinds of things, because I do enjoy talking about these kinds of things. I enjoy being analytical about the industry. I enjoy being realistic about our situation, and I like talking with other people who like being realistic about our situation and want to work together to figure out what we're going to be doing about it and what our role in this changing industry is going to be. I like having those conversations, but there's also a lot of people who don't want to hear this kind of stuff. And don't just want to hear it, but they don't want other people talking about it either, to the point where they're aggressive and they lash out against people who even bring these things up, maybe because they think it's endangering their career or endangering the status quo that they benefit from, even though the status quo is going to change whether we talk about it or not. It just is. And I've looked into a lot of options. I was even looking into YouTube's platform that they're going to be updating for memberships and private videos, and after figuring out some more about how it's going to work, I've ultimately decided to go back to thinking that my own platform is going to be the best, which is a shame because I kind of put it on hold while I was waiting for these other places to get their stuff together. But after seeing what's going on, I'm going to start posting my videos to my own platform, of which a lot of them are going to be public, and there's not going to be any ads. None of this is going to be monetized. I'm not even going to make it supporters only. It's not going to be paid for whatsoever. So if you want to watch my videos about my total rants and my opinions about the industry, you can go to bluedrake42.com. You can click on videos, and the public ones are going to be available. I've actually already made the other video that was unlisted public on my website, and then there's also going to be another category where we talk about specific instances, specific cases, looking at specific games and talking about how those games are put together, talking about the surrounding political implications of what the development and the release of these games mean, as well as other potentially controversial videos that I would rather keep private. And in order to get access to these videos, just go ahead and join my Discord server, which I'll link in the top right-hand corner of this video, and just send me a message. And when you send me a message, I'll whitelist you on this platform so you can watch these videos and be a part of this internal community of people who like talking about these kinds of things in private. But here's the thing. I think as the influencer market grows, as the paradigm of the game development industry continues to shift, what I think is going to happen is this. I think that there will still be some games, a few out there, that are innovative and really push the bar, and really push the frontier of what games can do. When you look at games like Star Citizen, whether or not you actually like Star Citizen is one of the few games that is trying to push that technological bar. Whether it becomes a good game when it releases or not, that's entirely up for debate between whoever wants to fight over it. But the main thing is that Star Citizen is trying to bank on the fact that they're going to be able to do things that nobody else can do. And you can see other people doing this as well. You can see a couple other studios still trying to push that. When you look at No Man's Sky, again, whether No Man's Sky is a good game that's a completely different topic. But you can see games like No Man's Sky trying to boast about doing technological things that nobody else can do. But those instances are going to become more rare as time goes on. And not only are those more instances are going to become more rare, they're going to become less effective. It's going to get to a point where does having a billion planets make a good game? Does having massive graphical overhauls where the light is refracting through a window, does that actually make a good game? Is it actually going to be something that it's going to get people out of their seats and purchase a full-priced game when they have something that looks like this for free out there? It's funny, I hear people all the time being like, man, I don't like this game or I don't like that game. I wish there was more options out there. And it's funny to me because you have a lot of these communities complaining about how there's no good games recently and how all of these games are cash grabs. But then you have beautiful modifications and games like this, which it is free. The SDK is there. The modification support is there. And not only this game, but so many other games. There are so many other studios working on Unreal Engine 4 projects that are free and open. There are not even modifications for Crysis, not even modification, but completely full. Just literally go into Google and just type in open source games, and I guarantee you will find so many things. In fact, here's something that I looked up the other day. Did you know that if you were to type in open source Minecraft, since the release of Minecraft, there is at least 10, I guarantee you there's a billion more of these, there is at least 10 entirely free, full recreations of Minecraft under licenses that even allow commercial use. For instance, MIT license. You could actually take this, play it with your community, distribute it wherever you want, do whatever you want to do with it, develop upon it further with no legal ramifications. As opposed to Minecraft, that's not. You think Minecraft is released under an MIT license? Hell no. And even though these may not look quite as good or do exactly the same things as Minecraft, I'm going to tell you right now, they're getting pretty damn close. And on top of that, who cares? If you are a YouTube community and you are looking for something new to do and you're getting really frustrated by having to sit here and buy $60 games over and over again and you're looking for something to play with your community, stop looking in the wrong places. Stop looking at the places which survive entirely off of marketing, and start looking somewhere else. In fact, seriously, if you were to take this MIT license, for example, this project, TrueCraft, whatever this ends up being, whatever this is called, look at this. Do you see this? This is under an MIT license. Do you know what that means? That means you could take this, you could download it, and you could re-upload it to Steam for free. And make it completely free. Don't even monetize it. Don't even try to do anything. Put it up on Steam completely free for all of your fans to play. Or hell, even if you did monetize it, there is legally nothing stopping you. That is where we are headed. It's going to, let me just say this, it's going to get to a point where do better graphics make a better game? Do bigger worlds, bigger universes, billions of planets, does that make a better game? And my answer is entirely no. This is a very uncomfortable topic. This is a very uncomfortable topic for the business of video games currently. But it's an undeniable topic where I want to show you actually a game. I want to show you a game that I think actually means a lot to me, and I think it's going to be a pretty good example of the kinds of things that I think are going to happen in the near future. Has anybody played Natural Selection 2? Natural Selection 2 is a game that was made by Unknown Worlds, and it's actually based off of a mod. The original Natural Selection, which was a modification for Half-Life. Still fun game, still holds up. Now, I want to explain to you this. You have all of these games that have come out many years ago, but one thing that they all have in common is they all cover intellectual property, and they all cover themes that aren't really their own. When you look at this game, when you look at a lot of games, honestly, how many games are we going to have that have an AK-47? How many games are we going to have where the primary two weapons are an M4A1 and an AK-47? How many times are artists going to create the exact same weapon over and over and over again? And they're going to create it in engines that look just as good as 7 years ago. And they're going to create projects that are just beating a dead horse, covering the exact. I can't tell you how many 3D artists that I've talked to, and they're like, you know what, it's hilarious, but if I have to model another AK-47 again from scratch for another studio, I'm going to kill myself. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. And it's because there's a lot of companies out there that when they want to make a game, they just grab the easiest, most straightforward thing that they can grab to make a game of. And what easier thing to make a game of than something that's been covered a billion times? There's already everybody who knows how to make those assets. You don't even have to design that intellectual property. You don't have to actually create. All you have to do is just recreate something that's already been created. But I want to show you an example of a type of studio, that I think is going to survive in the next era of game development that we're headed towards. When you get to an era of game development when there is MIT licenses of a Minecraft engine that you can literally re-upload to Steam for your community to play and do whatever you want with. When we live in an era where free modifications from 7 years ago look just as good as full-priced indie games that are being released now, what is the market going to look like? And again, like I've said, this is one of the reasons I don't like talking about this, because there's a lot of people that don't like hearing this. But I feel like these are the kinds of things that if you don't like hearing, you're just sabotaging yourself. Because these are the kinds of things that I feel like if studios want to survive, they need to be forward thinking about this. But let's reiterate. What kind of studios are going to survive in that market? Where there is going to be all of this saturation, where there's going to be all of this, where we're going to be hitting a wall, where we are going to be hitting a wall from a technological standpoint. What are going to be the studios that survive? And I look to studios like this. I look to studios like Unknown Worlds. Let's take a look at the path of Unknown Worlds. They created their first game in Half-Life. It was a modification for Half-Life, and the gameplay was unique, the gameplay was original, but the most important thing that I want to point out is every single element of this game is original. Every single weapon is unique, has never been seen before. This is completely new intellectual property. Every new character, every new weapon, every new item, every new was imagined and created from scratch. This isn't just taking existing intellectual property and just remaking it in a game. This is creating brand new intellectual property. And before a lot of people, I know there's going to be some people that get mad. They're going to be like, well, what's the difference? You know, like, what makes that any better than a game that has an AK-47? I'm going to tell you what makes it better. And it's not a subjective aspect. This isn't a subject, it's a legal and business aspect. You want to know why this is going to become so important in a new saturated world of game development? It's because this is licensable. This is copyrightable intellectual property. Just like Star Wars, just like Star Trek, just like Halo, just like all of those massively successful original intellectual properties, that there are legal constraints on whether you can copy. Legal. Do you think anybody is going to go out and try to remake a game using Halo's weapons, even if they make it from scratch, and then try to sell that? You think anybody's going to do that? No, because it's illegal. You can't do that because it's original intellectual property. It doesn't matter if you recreate it in another engine. It doesn't matter if you recreate. It's an original piece of intellectual property. And when you look at natural selection, let's take a look at this lifetime of this. You've got the original natural selection mod. Then you have natural selection 2. And this is actually an engine that I believe they actually made themselves from scratch. This was a technological evolution, back when technological evolutions were like commercially viable. This engine is entirely proprietary. But you know what else is still proprietary? This is still the same universe. No one else is making natural selection. Why is nobody else making natural selection? It's because it's their intellectual property. And it's not only that it's their intellectual property, and that's why they're able to get away with doing this, because nobody's allowed to do it. It's also because it takes a lot of work to make. Nobody is going to remake something like this and remake it from scratch and re-envision it because it's difficult. Making this kind of stuff and completely reimagining all of these characters and designing all of this from scratch is difficult. It is difficult. And the payoff is getting to the point where not only is it difficult, but it's a good investment. Developing original intellectual property is a good investment. Now let's take a look at this. And this is the big heavy hitter. Because when we hit a wall, because I believe Natural Selection 2 came out around 2011, 2012. When we hit a wall, technologically, when we got to a point where all of these games are to a point where creating a better looking game or a bigger scale game doesn't necessarily make a better game, where the market's getting exhausted, where it's like, okay, look, we don't care if you have 1 billion planets. We don't care if you have a beautiful new graphics engine. It looks the same as many other things that came out before. Like, what makes your game better? And it's getting to the point where there's going to be a lot of people who are having trouble answering that question. They're going to be like, what makes your game better? A lot of people are going to be like, I don't know. Like, we added in like one tiny new feature. No, that's not what makes it better. What are people like Unknown Worlds doing? In this time of saturation, in this time of hitting a technological wall, what are they doing? Because you want to know what these guys went on to create after Natural Selection 2? They went on to create Subnautica. And what is Subnautica? Subnautica is a gold mine of original intellectual property, of original narrative, of original characters, of things that not just can't be copied, not only that gives true exclusivity, but also brings a completely new experience that people have never had, because this is original work created from scratch. This isn't just the same thing rehashed in a new engine. This isn't just the same AK-47 and the same, stereotypical 15 weapons redone for the 50 billionth time. This is a whole new world. This is a whole new idea. This is a whole new concept. This is a whole new everything. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, making original intellectual property like this is hard. Being truly innovative like this is hard. And I'm going to say that's the point. In fact, a lot of people give me flack when I say things like game development has gotten easier. Game development is more accessible now. Game development, a lot of people kind of like paraphrase me and they say, "Oh, Blue Drake says game development is easy." That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is making original games, making innovative games, making games that do something new, designing things from scratch, creating original art is hard. Even taking the how the tools are evolving and how it's getting to the point where more and more people can actually get into game development. It doesn't matter how accessible the tools in Unreal Engine 4 get. It doesn't matter how much better the tools are and how much easier the tools are. Because no matter how much better those tools get, no matter how much easier those tools get to use, making original intellectual property like this will always be hard. No matter what the saturation of the industry is, no matter what the state of the tools are, no matter what the accessibility is, making original content like this will always be difficult. And when people say, "Oh yeah, but creating something is innovative, creating something that's never been done before, creating new intellectual property, creating a new world, creating a new vision that people can explore, that's difficult." You can't expect everybody to do that. And exactly. It is difficult. And that's why these games are getting so much attention. Because it's new. Instead of playing the exact same rehashed game on Unreal Engine 4 or Unity or playing the exact same stuff that you've seen a billion times, this is where I believe the market is headed. And everything else that is going to be deeply affected by not just the market saturation, but the improvement of development tools, the more accessible and cheap and fast that these tools are going to become. When you look at the number of viable, affordable alternatives to Autodesk alone that are emerging every single year, and you can see the devaluation of all of these tools and all of these systems. Even looking at completely new techniques such as photogrammetry and using Agisoft. I've used Agisoft before for contracts. For those of you who are unaware what photo scanning is, you can use a simple camera in order to take pictures of real-life objects, not even having to use expensive laser scanning equipment or anything like that. A simple, effective, high-quality Canon camera, and you can take these pictures and you can import them and use not just the 3D mesh, but also the materials and textures in a video game. And there's a lot of people, including myself, that see this technology and say, "Oh my God, this is going to change everything." And it is. These kinds of things are going to change everything. And on one hand, you're saying to yourself, "My God, this technology is amazing. Think of all of the things that I can use in order to create with this. Think of all the man hours that I am going to save. Think about all of the things that I can now cheaply and quickly produce that used to take me significantly more time and resources." And on one hand, that's great, but on another hand, that's also going to have a direct impact on the value of all of that work. What will the market be like when anything that you can take a picture of in real life be imported into a video game? Even taking into consideration all of the additional work, the cleanup, the LOD, the optimization, regardless of all of that, you are still saving a significant amount of time and resource by using this technology. Otherwise, why would you be using it? That's the point of it. It makes things better and faster and cheaper. But because of that, anyone who tries to recreate these things that you could take a picture of and import, trying to recreate these things by hand from scratch will have less value. To bring this entire point back home, you want to know the only thing that you cannot photo scan and import into a video game? original content. Something that doesn't even exist yet. And in my opinion, that is the last bastion of real value in the game development industry that I think that artists and developers should be pursuing if they want to maintain the value of their skill set. That's everything that I want to talk about for today. But if you enjoy these kinds of videos, if you enjoy these kinds of rants, join my Discord and send me a message. And also make sure to go register on my website so you can hopefully, if you're interested in being so, be a part of the ongoing conversation about the game development industry, about the future of the gaming community. If you missed my previous video talking about some of these similar things, you can watch it here. I'll link it in the top right-hand corner of this video. And of course, if you do still enjoy my content in general and want to continue supporting my channel, then you can feel free to subscribe here. Hopefully this video doesn't get a significant amount of backlash, and hopefully you all will see me here again soon. Take care, everybody, and cheers.